I watched my mother's eyes bulge as the ricin-laced gravy seeped into her bloodstream, her perfectly manicured fingers clawing at the linen napkin like it was the last shred of her dignity. "Anna," she wheezed, her voice a rattle of pearls and privilege crumbling. "You ungrateful little bitch, after everything I've done for you?" I leaned forward, the scent of rosemary and regret hanging heavy in the air, and whispered, "Everything? You mean framing me for your dirty little embezzlement scheme so your precious golden boy could skate free?"
"Yeah, Mom."
After that, it was supposed to be just another family dinner in the sprawling McMansion my mother had clawed her way into after Dad's accident back in '09. The kind of gathering where the silverware matched the silver in her hair, polished,
Cold.
and worth more than my entire apartment in Brooklyn. I'd driven 3 hours up from the city, my beat-up Honda Civic coughing like an asthmatic chain smoker the whole way, just to sit through this ritual humiliation. Mom at the head of the table, her Botox-smooth face lit by the glow of her iPhone as she scrolled through Instagram likes from her latest charity gala. My brother, Ethan, to her right, all Brooks Brothers button-down and venture capital swagger, nursing a scotch like it was mother's milk. And me, Anna, the family fuck-up, squeezed in at the foot like an afterthought, poking at my Cobb salad because even the free-range chicken felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. "Maybe someday you'll afford something real," she'd sneered earlier, eyeing the knockoff Coach bag I'd slung over my chair. It was the same bag I'd bought with my first paycheck from that soul-sucking gig at the ad agency before they fired me for cultural misalignment, code for "you're not one of us." Ethan chuckled into his glass. That low, knowing laugh that said he was already 3 steps ahead in whatever boardroom bloodbath he was plotting next. I forced a smile, the kind that doesn't reach your eyes, and said,
"Yeah, Mom."
"Someday." Inside, though, something cracked. Not a big shatter, but a hairline fracture in the dam I'd built around the rage that had been simmering since I was 22. That was the year it all went to hell. Fresh out of NYU with a useless degree in graphic design and dreams of making it big in the city, I'd crashed at home for a summer to save rent. Ethan was already the prodigy, interning at Dad's firm, Harrington Investments, the kind of Wall Street machine that greased palms from DC to Dubai. Mom doted on him like he was the second coming of Warren Buffett, while I was the cautionary tale, the one who wasted her potential on art school instead of an MBA. But that summer, Ethan got sloppy. He was skimming from client accounts, small at first, video poker debts from his Yale poker ring, then bigger, to fund that coke habit he swore he'd kicked. Dad found out, of course. Confronted him in the study one night, voices booming like thunder through the vents to my room upstairs. I heard it all, Ethan's whiny denials, Dad's disappointed sighs, the slap of a checkbook closing. "Fix this, son," Dad said, "before it ruins us all." But Ethan didn't fix shit. He panicked, cooked the books deeper, and when the auditors came calling, the trail led straight to the junior analyst who'd been handling the overflow, me. I'd signed off on a few transfers, innocent stuff, reallocating funds for a client presentation I'd designed. But Ethan forged the rest, backdated emails from my login, made it look like I'd been the mastermind. 20 counts of wire fraud,
they said.
I got 3 years in federal lockup at Alderson, the camp for white-collar witches, as the inmates called it.
Ethan?
He got a slap on the wrist, a family emergency leave, and Mom's connections pulling strings to bury the evidence. She visited me once, in that sterile visiting room that smelled like bleach and broken dreams. Drove up in her Mercedes, pearls choking her neck like a noose. This is for the best. Anna, she said, sipping vending machine coffee like it was vintage Bordeaux. Ethan's got potential.
You. Well,
You'll learn discipline. I stared at her through the plexiglass, wanting to smash it with my fists. Discipline? You threw me under the bus for him.
Mom.
Your own daughter. She leaned in, her voice a hiss. Blood isn't always thicker.
Dear.
Sometimes it's just messy, eh? That was the day I stopped being her daughter and started plotting her end. Prison hardened me in ways I never expected. Not the tattoos or the tough talk, though I got both. A delicate vine of black roses curling up my forearm to remind me beauty could choke you out.
No.
It was the quiet lessons. How to read a room, spot the liars, build alliances in the shadows. I read every book in the library, from Sun Tzu to Malcolm Gladwell. But the real education came from Big Rita, the lifer who'd done time for icing her husband's mistress. Revenge ain't about the kill, kid, she'd say over contraband cigarettes in the yard. It's about making 'em beg for it. When I got out, parole sweetening the deal with a suspended sentence if I kept my nose clean, I vanished into Brooklyn's underbelly. Waitressed by day. Designed bootleg merch for rappers by night. Saved every penny for the one thing that could flip the script, a body swap.
Yeah. You heard that right.
In the neon-drenched alleys of New York's black market, where crypto bros fence organs and hackers peddle souls, body swaps were the ultimate high-end hustle. Not some sci-fi bullshit, real tech, smuggled from Silicon Valley labs gone rogue. Neural mapping, cryosleep transfers, a full consciousness port into a fresh shell. Cost a fortune, but for the elite, it was the new facelift, cheat death, steal youth, or, in my case, slip into your enemy's skin and wear it like a second chance. I found Dr. Voss through a dark web forum, a disgraced neuroscientist holed up in a Jersey warehouse, trading swaps for Bitcoin and blow. Revenge special, he called it, his eyes gleaming like a used car salesman. In and out. No traces. But remember, kid, souls don't come with refunds. It took 2 years to scrape it together. $250,000. Wired in untraceable chunks from freelance gigs and a side hustle forging passports for undocumented artists. Mom's birthday gala was the perfect cover. The whole family's there. Champagne flowing. Egos inflated. I slipped away early, claiming a migraine. Drove straight to Voss's lair. The procedure was a blur. Straps, humming machines, the cold bite of IVs flooding my veins with nanites that rewired my brain to hers. Think of it as a hostile takeover, Voss muttered as the darkness swallowed me. When I woke, it was in her body, 62 going on 40 thanks to Pilates and fillers, staring at my old reflection in a full-length mirror. Anna's face, gaunt and fierce, blinked back, trapped in Mom's silk robe. Welcome to the other side, Voss said, handing me the remote trigger for the swap's reversal. 1 week max. Or it's permanent. I drove back to the mansion in her Beamer, the leather seats hugging me like a lover's betrayal. The gala was winding down, guests milling like overfed sharks. Ethan clapped me, her on the back. Great party?
Mom.
You look radiant. I smiled. That practiced Harrington grin. And tasted bile.
Oh.
I feel reborn. Darling. Upstairs. In her master suite with its ocean views and walk-in vault of designer gilt, I rifled through the safe. Documents. Deeds. Offshore accounts. Proof of the fraud. The cover-up. The life she'd stolen from me. And there, buried in a false bottom drawer, the secret that would gut them all, Dad's autopsy report. Tampered with to read, heart attack, but the tox screen whispered overdose. She'd poisoned him too, when he threatened to expose Ethan's mess. My own mother, the original snake in the garden. That night, as the house slept, I poured the ricin into the gravy boat, sourced from a ChemLab contact in prison. Odorless. Untraceable. Family dinner the next day was theater, me playing the doting matriarch, serving seconds with a flourish. Ethan's eyes lit up at the spread. He always did love his comforts. Mom, my old body shuffled in late, hungover from the swap's aftereffects, still groggy from Voss's sedatives. She took one bite, then another, before the convulsions hit.
Anna.
What? She gasped, realizing too late whose hands now wore her rings. Ethan bolted upright, a phone in hand, dialing 911 like the hero he wasn't. I watched from across the table, heart pounding a victory march. Call them off. Brother dear, I said softly, my voice, her voice, a velvet blade. Or the files hit every inbox from here to the SEC by morning. His face drained of color, that venture capital tan going ghost white. What the fuck is this? I slid the folder across the table, Dad's report fluttering like a black flag. This is payback. For the 3 years you let me rot. For the life you stole. The ambulance wailed in the distance, but I knew it was too late. Ricin works slow, but sure, like karma with a timer. As they loaded her, me, onto the gurney, her eyes locked on mine, pleading, furious. You can't. I'm your mother. I bent down, close enough to smell the fear on her breath. Not anymore. And just like that, the fracture became a flood. The paramedics hauled her out on that stretcher like yesterday's trash, sirens slicing through the manicured quiet of Greenwich like a bad divorce decree. Ethan paced the foyer, sweat beading on his forehead, his Ferragamo loafers clicking Morse code on the marble. Jesus. Anna, Mom, what the hell did you do? I adjusted the pearls at my throat, her pearls, heavy as handcuffs, and fixed him with that steely gaze she'd perfected over decades of PDA power plays and country club coups. What did I do? Let's rewind, shall we? To the summer I became the family scapegoat, so you could play Monopoly with other people's money. He stopped, phone halfway to his ear, the 911 operator's tinny voice crackling unanswered. That was ages ago. Water under the bridge. Mom said. Mom lied. I cut in, stepping closer, the click of her Louboutins echoing my resolve. She always did. About Dad. About the fraud. About why she hated me from the day I was born. Ethan's eyes darted to the folder on the console table, Dad's report peeking out like a guilty secret at a wake. He snatched it up, flipping through pages with trembling hands. This is bullshit. Forged. You think you can just... I laughed then, a throaty, unfamiliar sound that rattled in her chest like loose change in a beggar's cup. Forged? Like the emails you planted in my inbox? Like the affidavits Mom greased to bury the real tox results? I pulled out my phone, her phone, thumbprint locked to these manicured digits, and tapped the screen. A video queued up, grainy security footage from the study, time-stamped 3 years before my trial.
Dad.
Red-faced, slamming his fist on the desk. Eleanor. This ends now. Ethan stealing from widows. For Christ's sake. Mom's voice. Silk over steel, And you'll fix it, Richard. Or I'll make sure no one ever knows how you built this empire on the backs of those disappeared offshore deals. A scuffle. A gasp. The glint of a pill bottle. Cut to black. Ethan's knees buckled. He sank onto the velvet bench. The color of old money.
How?
Where did you get this? Does it matter? It's game over, little brother. Unless you want the world to see what a Harrington family reunion really looks like. The ambulance doors slammed outside. Neighbors peeking through lace curtains like vultures at a roadkill buffet. I could hear the chatter already. Poor Eleanor. Poisoned at her own table.
And by whom?
But I wasn't done. The swap had given me more than her body. It had unlocked the vault of her digital life. Emails to lawyers. Wire transfers to hush money accounts. Even a burner phone log to some clinic in Zurich. The body swaps weren't just my revenge fantasy. They'd been her side hustle. Trading identities with desperate socialites. Slipping into younger shells for a cool $1 million a pop. Voss wasn't the disgraced doc. He was her errand boy. You've got no proof, Ethan stammered, rallying like the frat boy debater he was. Mom's got alibis. Connections. One call. And you're back in Alderson. I smiled, slow and savage, and hit send on the pre-drafted blast. Pings echoed from his pocket, from the landline, from the smart fridge that doubled as her surveillance hub. Too late. It's out.
DOJ.
60 minutes. Hell. I even looped in the post. They love a good "Wasp Widow Bites Dust" headline. His phone buzzed like a hornet's nest. Alerts from his Bloomberg terminal. Stocks tanking. Clients fleeing. Harrington Investments. The family crown jewel. Hemorrhaging value by the second. But here's the controversial part. The decision that'd make therapists rich and Reddit threads explode. I didn't just want her dead. I wanted her to live it. The ricin dose was calibrated, Voss's touch, not to kill outright, but to paralyze, to trap her in my broken-down body, watching from a hospital bed as her empire crumbled. Mercy?
Nah.
Poetic justice? Served with a side of irony. As the cops swarmed the driveway, badges flashing like bad karma, I slipped upstairs to her, my bedroom, locking the door against the chaos. In the ensuite bath, marble-veined like lies, I stripped down and faced the mirror. Her body, toned, tanned, the faint scar from a C-section that wasn't mine, Ethan's. Of course. My hands, her hands, traced the lines, the softness where I'd earned calluses hustling canvases on Canal Street.
Who was I now?
Anna in Eleanor's skin. Or some hybrid monster. Stitched from betrayal and borrowed flesh? The swap's neural echo hummed in my skull. Flashes of her memories bleeding into mine. The thrill of sealing her first real estate deal in the 80s. The panic of Dad's heart attack. The cold calculation of pinning it all on me. I saw it clear as the Hudson on a crisp fall day. She'd always known I wasn't hers. Adopted at birth from some Midwestern Milltown tragedy. A placeholder until Ethan came along. You're the spare tire. Anna. She'd once slurred after too much Pinot at a holiday party. Flat when we need you. Forgotten otherwise. But the secret ran deeper. Buried like bodies in the backyard of her Hamptons estate. I'd found the adoption papers in the safe. But not the addendum, a letter from the agency. Dated a week after my placement. Biological mother deceased under suspicious circumstances. Paternal match, unknown. Recommend full disclosure to avoid future inquiries. Suspicious. That word stuck like gum on my soul. As sirens faded and Ethan banged on the door. Anna, open up. You crazy bitch. I rifled the nightstand. A hidden compartment, velvet-lined, held a locket with a faded photo, a young woman, dark hair like mine, eyes sharp as switchblades. On the back, engraved, to Ellie, love forever, R. Ellie. Eleanor. My mother, the mother, had stolen me?
No. Worse.
She'd replaced me. The pieces clicked. Dad's firm wasn't built on deals. It was blood money from a cover-up. My bio mom, some low-level accountant who'd uncovered the fraud, poisoned just like him. And me, the living proof, shipped off to be raised by the monster who'd orchestrated it all. I clutched the locket, rage boiling fresh. This wasn't just revenge anymore, it was reclamation. Downstairs, the cops were cuffing Ethan, resisting. As always, while the ambulance tech stabilized me for the ride to Stamford Hospital. I slipped out the back, into the garage where her Range Rover waited like a getaway car in a heist flick. Keys in hand, I gunned it toward the city, the dashboard GPS pinging Voss's warehouse. Time to extend the lease on this body. 1 week?
Fuck that.
Permanent sounded poetic. But as the skyline swallowed the horizon, doubt crept in like fog off the sound. What if I couldn't swap back? What if Anna's body, her body now, died with the ricin, leaving me forever the villain in her Vogue spread? Controversial? Hell yes. I'd poison my own flesh, blood or not. And for what? A shot at the throne built on lies. Yet as the miles blurred, I felt alive, truly, bone-deep alive for the first time since that cell door clanged shut. The mirror might lie, but the fire in my gut didn't. Eleanor Harrington was dead. Long live the Queen. Voss's warehouse squatted on the Jersey Turnpike like a forgotten Cold War bunker, chain link rattling in the wind off the Hackensack. I pulled up at 3 a.m., the Rover's headlights cutting through the murk like accusatory fingers. No guards, just a biometric scanner at the loading dock, keyed to her, my retina. The door hissed open, and there he was, Dr. Voss, paunchy in a lab coat stained with what smelled like regret and Red Bull, tinkering with a neural rig that looked like a steampunk dentist's chair. Eleanor, he drawled, not looking up. Back so soon? Complications with the prodigal daughter? I stepped into the fluorescent hum, the air thick with ozone and unspoken deals. Cut the crap.
Voss.
I need an extension. Make it indefinite. He paused, syringe midair, his eyes narrowing behind Coke bottle glasses. Indefinite? That's not how this works.
Love.
The mapping degrades after 7 days. Synaptic bleed. Identity erosion. You'll wake up one morning thinking you're her poodle. I cross my arms, feeling the unfamiliar weight of her breasts, the sway of hips that had never hustled for tips. Then fix it. You're the genius who peddles souls to housewives with midlife crises. Surely you can stitch mine to hers a little tighter. He chuckled, a wet, phlegmy sound, and set down the syringe.
Ah.
But souls ain't like software updates. Eleanor. You want permanence? That's black market black magic. Full cortical rewrite. $500,000 extra. And even then, it's Russian roulette with your psyche. I pulled a thumb drive from her, my Hermes clutch. The one monogrammed EH. In gold that now felt like fool's pyrite. Everything you need. Offshore keys. Cayman access. Harrington's slush fund. Courtesy of Ethan's poker buddies. Wire it now. Or I hit send on the dossier. I just emailed your ex at Stamford. The one who knows about the accidental lab fire that torched your tenure. Voss's face soured like milk left in the sun. He knew the play. Extortion was the grease in this machine.
Fine.
But you're playing with fire, lady. Or should I say, Anna? My blood iced. What did you call me? He tapped a monitor, pulling up grainy feed from the swap chamber, my old body convulsing on the table post-procedure. Muttering Anna. No, don't, before the sedatives kicked in. Neural echo. Her subconscious leaking yours. Sloppy, but fixable.
Sit.
I did. The chair's restraints snapping like judgmental ants at a shotgun wedding. Needles pricked. Screens bloomed with fractal brainwaves, mine bleeding into hers. A Rorschach of rage and regret. As the rearite hummed through my veins, Voss leaned in. One warning. The deeper you go, the more you lose.
Memoria emerge.
What if you start liking the power, the galas, the Gulf Stream, the way heads turn when Eleanor Harrington walks into a room? The machine word to life. And I blacked out to visions. Mom, no. Me, at a fundraiser. Air-kissing senators. Her laughter a weapon sharper than any stiletto. Waking, I felt settled. Stronger. The locket burned in my pocket. A talisman against the tide. Voss unstrapped me, nodding to a duffel by the door. Your go bag. Fake IDs. Burner. Enough tranq darts to drop a rhino. And this. He handed over vial. Clear as conscience. Antidote for your house guest. If you change your mind. I pocketed it without a word, gunning the rover back to the city as dawn bled pink over the skyline. By noon, the news cycle was a feeding frenzy, heiress poisoned in shocking family feud. Pundits on CNN dissected the Harrington dynasty like Thanksgiving turkey, speculating on sibling rivalry gone toxic. Ethan had lawyered up, his firm issuing a bland denial from a midtown high-rise. And Anna, my body, Eleanor's soul, lay in ICU at Stanford. Tubes snaking like lies. Guarded by private security Mom had on speed dial. I checked in under her name, flashing the platinum Amex that opened every door from ERs to escrow. The doc. A harried Indian guy with a clipboard thicker than War and Peace. Murmured about irreversible nerve damage and prolonged ventilation. Perfect. She'd live, just not well. From there, I went full corporate raider. Eleanor's Rolodex, my Excalibur. First stop, Harrington Investments. That glass tower on Park Avenue where Dad had died and Ethan had thrived. I swept in as her. Board shorts, oops. Skirt swishing. Assistants scattering like roaches at lights up. The corner office was a shrine to excess. Walnut desk. Warhol on the wall. A humidor stocked with Cubans that cost more than my old rent. Ethan was there, unshaven and wild-eyed, barking into a headset. Mom, what the fuck? You disappear while the cops are cuffing me. I closed the door. The click loud as a guillotine. Sit down, Ethan. We're cleaning house. He did. Warily. As I pulled up the ledger on her laptop, hers now. Passcode Ethan Rules 95. You've been siphoning again. Crypto scams this time? Or just patting your Hamptons flip? His jaw dropped. How? Mothers know everything. Darling.
Now.
Sign the transfer. Full control to me. Or I leak the Zurich clinic logs. Body swaps with desperate debutantes? The Times would eat that alive. He signed. Pen shaking. The empire crumbling under his fingers. But the real gut punch was personal. I wired funds to my old accounts, bought back my childhood home in the suburbs, the one she'd sold to fund his Yale tuition, then torched the deed in the office fireplace. Symbolic?
Sure.
Cathartic as hell. Days blurred into a revenge montage. American Dream twisted noir. I crashed Ethan's poker game in Atlantic City, cleaned him out with her bridge-honed bluff, then accidentally spilled the trank dart in his scotch. Woke him in a seedy motel, tied to a chair. Her face inches from his. Remember Alderson?
Brother?
The showers where they whispered about snitches? That's your future if you don't confess. He did. On a hidden cam, the fraud, the frame job, Mom's poison pen. Uploaded anonymously to WikiLeaks by midnight. Controversy peaked at the family attorney's office, a wood-paneled den on Madison where wills were weapons. I strode in, locket in hand, demanding the full adoption file. Old man Hargrove, with his pipe and plaid vests, blanched. Eleanor, this is irregular. The biologicals were sealed. By you? On her orders. Open it, or face disbarment for aiding murder. The file spilled secrets my bio mom, Rita Callahan, accountant at Dad's firm, poisoned in '95 after threatening to blow the whistle on Eleanor's insider trading. Rita had named me in her will, half the firm, if I'd lived. But Eleanor, pregnant with Ethan, saw opportunity, fake the death, adopt the orphan, bury the proof. You are insurance, Hargrove admitted, voice cracking. A spare Harrington. I left with copies, the locket pulsing like a heartbeat. Back at the mansion, now mine by proxy. I visited Anna in the hospital, off books. Nurse bought off with a Cartier bribe. She was awake, eyes feral in my old face, tubes muffling her curses. Give it back, she mouthed. I held up the antidote vial, dangling it like car keys to a repoed Cadillac. Confess first. On camera. Rita's murder. The swap clinic. All of it. She nodded, tears carving tracks in the grime. As she rasped the truth, I killed her to protect us. I felt the merge Voss warned of. Pity for the monster who'd birthed my hell. I smashed the vial in the sink.
No merci.
Just ash. But as I drove into the night, the empire smoldering behind me, the twist nod, whose memories were these? The gala thrills, or the prison yard grit, the power tasted sweet, but hollow, like decaf in a Starbucks grande. The confession video dropped like a nuke on a napalm picnic. Eleanor Harrington confesses to decades of fraud. Murder. By morning, it was viral. Hashtags trending from Harrington Hell to Swapgate. With armchair detectives on TikTok dissecting the body swap angle like it was the new Epstein list. I watched from Eleanor's, my penthouse on 5th, floor-to-ceiling windows framing Central Park like a conquered kingdom. Coffee steamed in a mug monogrammed with her initials. But the view couldn't drown the echo in my head. I killed her to protect us. Her words, my voice. The merge was accelerating. Voss's rewrite turning me into a Frankenstein of familial fuckery. Ethan called from whatever hole he'd crawled into Vegas.
Probably.
Burning through petty cash on blackjack and blowjobs. You win. Okay? It's over.
Just.
Call it off. His voice cracked. The golden boy reduced to gravel. I sipped, savoring the tremble. Over? This is just intermission. Little brother. The SEC's raiding the offices as we speak. Your offshore nest egg? Frozen. That startup you advised. Suing for malfeasance. A pause. Then a sob, actual.
Vet.
The sound of privilege popping like a blister. What do you want? Anna? Money? The house. Take it all. Controversial choice number 3. I wanted his soul. Meet me at the cabin. Midnight. Come alone. Or the world sees you confessing to Daddy's dirt nap. The cabin was our family's Adirondack escape. A log monstrosity Dad built in the 70s with laundered lumber money. I'd spent summers there as a kid, skipping stones on the lake while Mom critiqued my cannonballs. Sloppy.
Anna.
Like everything you touch.
Now.
It loomed under a hunter's moon. Pines whispering conspiracies. Ethan arrived in a rental Beamer, headlights cutting the dark like panic attacks. He stumbled out, bottle in hand, Jack. Neat. The addict's communion. Here, he slurred, tossing a flash drive. Everything. Accounts, passwords, the works. Just stop. I caught it, cold metal biting my palm, and let him inside. The great room smelled of pine sol and old lies, stone fireplace, leather club chairs, the mounted buck Dad shot or paid a guide to. I built a fire, flames dancing like the devil at a debutante ball. Sit. He did, weaving, eyes bloodshot. You look good.
Mom.
Creepy as fuck, but good. I poured us both, her crystal tumblers clinking, and sat across, the locket open on the coffee table. Rita's photo stared up, ghost of a grudge. Tell me about her.
Rita.
What did she do to deserve your mom's wrath? Ethan blinked, firelight gilding his ruin.
She
found the books. Dad, Richard, was cooking them.
Tax dodges.
Bribes to union bosses. Rita was the new hire. All ethics and spreadsheets.
Confronted him.
Then Eleanor said she'd go to the feds. He swigged. Adam's apple bobbing. Mom handled it. Pills in her coffee. Staged as suicide. Then. You happened. Rita named you beneficiary in a codicil. Half the firm if she died unnatural. Mom adopted you to control it. Buried the will. The merge flared, flashes of Eleanor's panic. The bitter taste of strychnine on her tongue. My tongue. I gripped the armrest. Nails, her French tips digging in. And Dad, when he found out, after you. He wanted to come clean.
Post Ethan. Mom.
Persuaded him otherwise. Another slug of Jack. Same MO. But sloppier. That's when she started the clinic thing, testing swaps on junkies, perfecting it for the rich bitches who fear wrinkles more than warrants. I leaned forward, the fire's heat mirroring the burn in my chest.
And me?
The frame job.
He met my eyes.
Finally. Raw as roadkill. I begged her. Said it'd ruin me. She said you'd bounce back tougher. Spare tires don't puncture easy. Laughter bubbled up, bitter as the booze. Tougher? I'd become a goddamn Terminator in pearls. We talked till the fire died to embers. Ethan spilling like a confessional on fire, the poker rings that started it all. The affairs Mom covered with NDAs and nannies. The way she'd groomed him to be the heir, while I scrubbed toilets post-prison. Dawn crept in, gray as guilt, when I made the call. Not the cops, too clean.
Voss.
Prep the chamber. Double occupancy. Ethan protested as I darted him, slumping like a sack of bad decisions. By noon, we were in Jersey, him strapped beside me in the rig. Why? He mumbled as the needles bit. I smiled. Eleanor's lipstick cracking. Fair's fair. You took my life. I take yours. The swap was brutal, consciousness fracturing like glass under a boot. His essence flooding mine, flashes of boardrooms and blow. The thrill of the con. When I woke, I was me again, Anna in Anna's skin. Gaunt but grinning, while Ethan blinked from his new shell, Mom's body. Post-ricin. Wired and weak in a rented ambulance en route to nowhere. Voss handed the keys. You're the spider now.
Kid.
Web's yours. I drove Ethan, Eleanor, to a no-questions clinic in the Bronx. Cash drop for indefinite care. Live with it, I whispered, wheeling him in. The Empire's ash. But you're the ember. Back in the city, I torched the penthouse figuratively first, selling off Warhol for pennies to ghost buyers. Then literally, a faulty wiring spark that insurance wouldn't touch. The cabin went next. Deeded to a wildlife preserve with a plaque, for Rita Callahan, stones skipped eternal. Controversy raged. Was I vigilante or villain? Op-eds split hairs. Justice or just desserts, while trolls doxed my old aliases. But the real tension built in quiet moments, the locket around my neck. Rita's eyes judging. Had I become her? The poisoner? The plotter? Ethan's trial was the climax. A circus in federal court. Him in the dock. Mom's face twisted in rage, spilling more beans under oath. I testified anonymous. Voice modulator on the stand, dropping the adoption bomb. The judge gasped, the gallery erupted. Objection. Hearsay, his lawyer yelled. But it stuck. Conviction. Life.
No parole.
As they led him out, she locked eyes with me in the back row.
Anna.
Please. I stood. The room's tension coiling like a spring. That's the point, Eleanor. Feel it. But as the gavel fell, the twist uncoiled, Hargrove's courier at my door that night. Envelope in hand. Rita's real will. Unsealed. Not half the firm, all of it. Clawed back from the ashes. I was the Harrington. Legally. Blood deep. Victory? Or the ultimate betrayal? Inheriting the poison? Inheriting the Harrington fortune felt like winning the lottery with monopoly money, glittering stacks of stock certificates and shell companies. But tainted with the aftertaste of arsenic tea. I moved into the Park Avenue ruins post-fire. Gutted it myself, contractors hauling out Warhol stubs and Mom's monogrammed linens. Me in overalls sketching blueprints for a gallery space on the ground floor.
Anaïs Atelier.
I'd call it exhibits on reclaimed lives. Installations from Prison Ink and black market blueprints. The press called it Vengeance Versailles, snapping pics as I signed the escrow. My rose tattoo peeking from the sleeve like a middle finger to the old guard. But the merge lingered. A low hum in my synapses, Eleanor's cravings for caviar and control warring with my grit. Nights. I'd wake sweating, convinced I was her again. Fingers itching for the phone to call in favors. Therapy?
Huh.
I saw a shrink once. Some Park Slope hipster with crystals on her desk. This body dysmorphia, it's trauma. Anna. Integrated self. I laughed her out of the room. Integration was the enemy. Separation was survival. Voss checked in via encrypted app. Echoes fading. But watch for bleed. Dreams of the dead. Every damn one. Rita. Reaching through the locket. Her voice a whisper on the wind. Come home.
Kid.
Skips on the lake. Ethan Eleanor, in her cell at Bedford Hills. The irony thick as oatmeal. I visited once. under false name. Plexiglass between us like the old days. She looked wrecked, my old body, ravaged by rice and scars, hair graying at the temples. You did this, she croaked. Voice mine but broken. Stole my life. I pressed the glass. Our breaths fogging twin accusations. Your life? The one built on Rita's grave? Dad's? Mine? She deflated. My eyes, pooling. I did it for us. The family. Ethan needed, fuck Ethan. And fuck you for thinking blood bought a pass. The guard tapped time up. As they led her away, she twisted back. The locket. It's not yours. What? Back home. I pried it open under a desk lamp, the photo curling at the edges. Behind it, a microchip, tiny, embedded, the kind spies swap secrets with. Plugged into my laptop. It bloomed. Files. Encrypted. Timestamped 94. Rita's ledger. Detailing every dirty deal, Eleanor's bribes, Dad's laundering, even a side hustle in 80s crack epidemics, funding the firm's rise. But the kicker, Rita wasn't the whistleblower. She was in on it. Small time. Until conscience hit. And me, conceived not in love, but leverage, her affair with Dad. A pawn to force Eleanor's hand in the partnership. The adoption? Not theft, rescue. Eleanor had planned to disappear me too, but Rita's death stalled it. The will? A bluff. To scare her into confession. Twist reversed. I wasn't the victim reborn. I was the echo of their sins. Blood of betrayers.
Rita poisoned.
Self-administered. Guilt overdose. After penning the chip's truth. Dad's accident. His own hand. Despair post-discovery. Eleanor's only crime. The frame job. Yes. But born of a mother's terror that I'd unearth the rot and burn it all. Protect us. The family wasn't a dynasty of monsters. It was a house of cards built on mutual madness. Each Harrington a cog in the crazy. I sat there till dawn. Chips glow casting shadows like indictments. Call the cops? Leak it wider? The controversial call. Burn it. Metaphorically, files to digital ash. Lock it to the Hudson. Tossed from the Brooklyn Bridge at high tide. Let the truth drown. Vengeance was victory enough. Or was it cowardice? Debatable. Like the op-eds still raging, did Anna Harrington redeem or ruin the American dream? Months on, the gallery opened to mixed reviews. Raw, but reckless, much like its curator. I stood at the entrance. Black dress simple as justice. Shaking hands with critics who'd once sneered at my knockoff life. Ethan wrote from prison, she wrote, begging forgiveness, offering amends in smudged ink. I burned the letter, but kept the postmark, a reminder that ashes fertilize. Ending? Pick your poison. Happy, I thrive. Canvas queen of reclaimed chaos, dating a barista with tattoos that match my scars. Tragic, the echo wins. Me swapping bodies yearly, chasing permanence in borrowed skins till the merge consumes. Or, debatable, family dinner redux. Me at the head, toasting ghosts with real champagne. To someday, I say, glass raised. When we all afford the truth. Either way, the sneer echoes faint now. I did it, Mom. Something real.